things you never heard before, coming right up on the CapSongs show. Whoa. But today we have Wyatt Easterling.
That's correct.
Yes, and Wyatt is already telling us some information about his background.
I did a little research before I went out and met with Miles, and he owned IRS Records, which had the Bangles and the Go-Go's and REM and Timbuk3, all these great acts that I did enjoy their music. I just didn't follow them that closely.
Mm-hmm.
But we met out in LA and decided to partner up, and so I opened up a Bugle Publishing Group here in town. He had one in LA, Nashville, London, and Paris. So we were pretty spread across the globe. But the coolest thing with that opportunity was Miles. I didn't know the guy. He's a bit of a bull in a china shop at times, but he came through Nashville on his way to London and stomped in and said, "Hey, now that we've signed these songwriters, what are we going to do with them?" And I was kind of caught off guard a little bit, and I thought, well, I mean, obviously we won't have them write until we have something to pitch.
Right.
And then I just had this brainchild for a moment because I was covering my ass, and I said, I would like to put together a songwriting retreat. And I won't say what he said, but he says, "What the heck is that?" And I said, "Well, you have IRS Records. We've got songwriters. Bring your artist into town. We'll put them up at a state park or something like that, and let them write. And when they finish, the artist will go home with new songs. We'll have the publishing. You'll have the artist with their new material for your record label." Miles is pacing back and forth, and he doesn't even look at me. He just says, "I have a chateau in the south of France. We'll do it there."
Oh, wow.
And it was like a country bumpkin. I watched him pacing back and forth. I said, "A chateau isn't that like a castle?" And he goes, "Yeah." And so and I said, "Does it have a moat?" And he said, "Well, yeah, it's a castle." 2 months later.
Yep.
2 months. This was August, like the 5th of 1992. 2 months later, I'm in the south of France at his castle with this amazing array of songwriters from the other offices, but also Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford from Squeeze, Bonnie Hayes, who else was there that trip? Brenda Russell, just a slew of great artists.
Mm-hmm.
And it became known as the Castle. So I mean, throughout the history of the Castle, we had Olivia Newton-John, Cher, Carole King, a number of times Carole King. I would bring all of these wonderful writers, Gary Burr, Bob DePiro, John Scott Sherrill. I'd bring all these guys up with my writers, but I'd bring these folks from around town because we would put one of these guys, those writers with one of my writers and an artist in the same room, so we were sharing the copyright.
Right.
It worked great.
Wow.
It did. It was wonderful, but it's an amazing experience. And I think we were the first songwriting retreat really out there. This was 1992, and since then, golly, I've lost count of how many times I've orchestrated and done a songwriters retreat. I'm doing one this fall up in Maryland.
Huh.
Mine is called Song Travelers. So I do it in different places. I do it here in Nashville, but then I'll do it in Maine. I've done it over in Holland, and we'll continue just to travel around with it. It's great fun.
Who are you affiliated with as far as publishing and so forth?
I'm very happy about that,
Yeah.
because when I go
Control.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I have copyrights, Modern Day Drifter, for example, that Dirk Bentley recorded. It was his title track on his second album for Capitol. I have no idea where that copyright is. It was with EMI, it got sold.
I've heard that so many times.
I have no idea.
Songs, and then a person will hear that song and say,
I wrote part of that, and nobody's gotten in touch, and then they just, it's an amazing business.
It is.
I'm not gonna
But you know,
wax, nostalgic. But I did enjoy the day when the town was structured so that everybody had a job. You did your job. If you were a songwriter, you wrote your songs, you gave it to your song plugger, they got it cut. The artist now has a song, the record label has a song, the management team has a song. If it's a big hit song, then the old saying, there's nothing in this town that a hit won't fix.
put to work.
Sure.
You know,
But it worked like a train. I mean,
it did.
everybody
Well,
was
I mean, right
linked up.
down to the racker who went to the record stores and put them in the rack. I mean, there was a system that was in place, so you knew where your money was coming in from, and it was coming in. Mainly, the money was coming in, and sometimes it was coming in big loads, and sometimes it was just what we used to refer to as mailbox money, and I love that.
Oh, sure. Get a check in the mail.
I get checks now, and they sit on my desk for, I don't know, until I feel like maybe opening it, see if I can go buy a cup of coffee.
I wish I could get to that point, but I love talking to someone like yourself who has really been doing it for a long time, and I appreciate your input and joining us.
I'm delighted to.
Do you mind talking about your latest venture? You were mentioning about a movie.
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
It's such a fluke. Once again, right place, right time. And I was in Nashville. I was at the right place at the right time, the golden era of Nashville.
And by 1990, Garth is out, and the whole world is paying attention to what's going on in country music. And I was very blessed to, for example, when I was with Miles, I brought Keith Urban over to the management division. And so I got to work with Keith. I bet we spent 3 years getting songs together for him to go shop to record labels. I was proud to produce those. But back to your question, New Year's Eve, this past New Year's Eve, I was at a dinner party, and the gentleman sitting to my right, he and I were just striking up a conversation in North Carolina. But my side passion is I direct and produce movies. I said, oh, well, that's interesting. And he said, yeah, I shot a movie back in the 80s called Mutilator. I said, oh.
Sounds an interesting title.
Okay. He said, well, it's a slasher film.
Sure.
I said, oh, okay. Well, my son loves those. I just never really been into them that much, but tell me more, I'm curious. And he said, well, we're getting ready to do another one. And it's been a dream of mine for 30 years, and I've been setting aside all the money that I need and bringing in outside money, and we're going to shoot it this spring. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, where are you doing it? And he said, down on Emerald Isle, outside of Morehead City. I said, say no more, I know exactly where it is. My family's had a place down there since I was a kid. I go down as much as I can. And so upon leaving that evening, I said, hey, Bud Cooper is his name. I said, Bud, if you got any need for some extras, I'll do anything.
There you go.
I'll run water around for you guys if I can go down and have an excuse to sneak out and go play a little golf and play guitar on the beach.
Right.
So he kind of chuckled, and I figured that was the last of it. And then about a week later, I got a call from him, and he said, hey, how would you like to be in the movie? I said, well, sure. What do you want me to do? It'd be like, Harrison Ford, be the bellhop that walks in and says, telegram for so-and-so.
Yeah.
And that was his big debut.
Well, yeah.
He
Gotta
says,
start someplace.
Exactly, I know. But as it turns out, I am the singer-songwriter from Nashville. I'm the husband of the leading lady.
Wow.
And
Who is the leading lady?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I wasn't taking it that seriously
I hope
until.
it's something really beautiful.
I do too. I do too. But I've read through the script numerous times. I don't have that many lines, but I thought it'd be kind of cool if I got slashed or eviscerated or something.
So it's this movie that he was doing way back, but now he's redoing it.
He's doing Mutilator 2.
So he
Yeah.
actually did Mutilator 1.
He did mutilate him.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
And apparently in the 80s, it was so grisly, and it had cussing and some nudity.
He was
He
a
couldn't
little
get
ahead.
it. He couldn't get it rated, so
Yeah.
it wasn't released in the theaters. But it became a bit of a cult,
Right.
phenom, and so. But obviously, he's doing it right. I mean, I've gotten set locations and hair and makeup calling and asking for wardrobe. They were asking for all kinds of sizes, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm a singer-songwriter from Nashville. I
Yeah.
just need to walk in my closet.
Mhm.
I'll have it covered."
There you
So
go.
check out my website, and they did, and they said, "Oh, you're fine. It's perfect, easy." So just, if I'm wearing one of my Stetsons, you cannot throw blood on me.
No, don't do that.
Well, for a price, the Stetson
Well, if
Plus.
they're gonna replace the Stetson.
Absolutely.
But,
No, it'll be fun. It's just one of those.
It's like when I'm working with a young artist or I'm working with a songwriter, for example, I always tell them, be ready.
Hmm.
Always be prepared
Sure.
for anything that comes at you. If you need a guitar pick to play a song, keep one in your pocket at all times. Because if you're out somewhere and they ask you up on stage, you don't want to say, "Oh, no." You get up there, and if you have to sing a cappella, you
Sure.
do it.
Sure.
And that's just a rule of thing. Unless you don't want to be a pro. If you want to be a pro, you got to be prepared to do anything.
Correct.
Thanks for tuning in tonight, my friends. Hope to see you coming round again. Make sure to tell everyone you know to join us next time